Jay's Tunnel here, and today I've got something real exciting to talk to y'all about. Something that normally I'd say you'd never find one of these because they're so fragile. But for whatever reason, at low tide, I've been getting people calling me saying, hey, what are these puffy looking sand dollars things that are washing up? I'm here to tell you that these are called sea potatoes, or heart urchins is another name for them. And so they are related to the sand dollar. They look like a puffy sand dollar, but they're all, and sea stars. They're also related to those. But these live under the sand as opposed to on the surface. Like, sand dollars are right below. Same with sea stars, they can be right below the surface. These kind of dig down into the sand. They're adapted for living in the sand, but they don't look like this whenever they're alive. I've only found one that was partially alive, and it had spines covering it. And I don't mean spines like a sea urchin that you'd normally see like on TV or something like that, where spines are real long, which I have found those. We have those living on the jetties. But these are real small. They almost look like hairs. And it's hard to tell what the top and the bottom is. So, but with all the spines gone, which whenever they wash up, they lose their spines real fast after they get pulled up out of the sediment from storms and stuff like that, pushed up on the shore, and the spines quickly fall off. So what I want to be able to tell you about is how they feed. So, they're male and female. And so the female will release the eggs, the male will release the sperm, and so they're separate individuals. That all gets in the water column. Very few larvae actually survive, but once they do get to the stage where they're a larvae, they get down into the sand, and that's where they live their entire lives. And so you won't see them, crawling around like you would a sea star or something like that. These are going to be underground. And they've got these special adaptations, and since all the spines are off, you can actually see it. But the bottom of the sea potato here is the mouth. There's only one opening on the bottom, and that's its mouth. And so it faces that mouth towards the front end as it's going through the sand, and then on the very back you'll see a hole, and that's their anus. So sand going in, sand going out, and it gets all the nutrients that it can out of that sand as it's burrowing its way through. So real interesting animal here, very fragile. I'm so surprised. I've probably found about 13 of these that were washed up, and how I found them was it was at the very end of low tide, so the tide was just about to start coming back up. There was algae and seagrass that had accumulated in certain spots, and I found all these on top of that. And so I found a bunch of broken pieces that were either higher up on the high tide line or further away, but I guess the waves just crushed them up. But for whatever reason, the ones around that algae were able to be protected. And so that's where I found them. Other people were contacting me all these last couple of weeks, like, what are these? So I wanted to be able to make a video on them so that you could see up close of what they are. Now these are all pretty small. These are probably the biggest ones, maybe 1 inch, but they can actually get about 3.5 inches in size. So I think it's interesting that I found all these smaller ones. It's like, where is the big ones? These things move extremely slow. So they're actually only moving about 2 centimeters a day in the sand. And you know how long that is? That's less than an inch in one day. So they're really taking their time, going through, picking up sand, getting all the detritus out of there before it leaves their body. And that's how they're able to survive. The typical lifespan is 3 to 5 years under ideal conditions. And this would be the ones that are probably about 3.5 inches long. They can live, up to 10 years. Okay, so now here's a different day, and I'm on my electric bike doing my survey today, and I've got over a gallon of these that I found. Now, let me put them in here with all my other junk. I got my sea piggy, teeth, all that kind of stuff. Okay, but look at this. These are all, there's like literally hundreds of these washing in, these sea potatoes. And you know, some of them are broken, a bunch of them are broken, but a bunch of them are whole. And it goes on like this. I've been on my bike now for about, I don't know, 10 miles, and it's like this, it's thick. So it depends on the beach you're at, depends on the habitat of where they live, of how, and like what happened. And so I'm thinking a cold front or something had come in, big waves, and just a massive die-off of these, and then they're all getting pushed up. And so I always felt like if you found one, you were lucky. Now I got a whole gallon of them. And normally I don't take anything off the beach, but here's the deal. Whenever the tide starts coming back up, whenever the wind picks back up, these are just going to be crushed. So next week I'm going to come out here, and I bet you I don't find one whole one. So this situation, these are very fragile. I'm going to be giving them away to people, and so they can have them for their collection. So you're probably thinking, man, these kind of look like marshmallows. Can we eat them? No, nobody's eating these things. And I couldn't find anywhere that people eat them. And part of it is they don't have any edible roe. So that's what, like whenever you see people cutting open sea urchins and they're eating stuff out of it, they're eating the roe in there. And so these don't have any of that. They would actually probably be just nasty, sandy, gritty on the inside. So nobody's eating these. Besides that, any washed up stuff that's on the beach, don't try to eat anything like that. Fish or, you know, octopus or whatever. Never good, because once it's, you know, it washed up for a reason, it's dead, it's probably got bacteria that's already breaking it down. So you want to avoid anything like that. But anyway, what a cool find that we're finding right now on the beach at low tide. Wanted to be able to share this with you so that you know what they are. And we'll talk to you on the next Beachcombing. Bye.